I never imagined my sister's wedding would unravel family ties over my condo. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air was heavy with tension, like a storm was brewing just beneath the surface, waiting to explode. I stood there, trembling, my heart racing as I watched the chaos unfold in our small living room. The space that had always been a refuge, now a battleground. It should have been a happy occasion. Sarah was finally marrying Jason, the love of her life, and yet all I could feel was a swell of anxiety churning in my stomach. My own home felt alien, as if the walls could close in and swallow me whole. Right there, amidst the clinking of glasses and laughter, I sensed a darkness lurking. The condo had always been my sanctuary, a slice of independence just above the chaos of family life. Mom always insisted I sell it. Why not get rid of it before the wedding? No one needs the added stress, she would say, her voice dripping with false sweetness. I would nod, but deep down, I felt a seismic shift in my gut. This place was my haven. Bound by memories, late-night laughter with friends, quiet mornings with coffee, and occasional solitude. Then there was Sarah. My sister, my confidant. With her radiant smile and infectious laughter, she brought light where shadows threatened to creep. But today, she stood with furrowed brows and clenched fists. I could see the tension coursing through her, reflected in the glassy spark of her eyes. The clock was ticking and so much was at stake. I can't believe you're being so selfish. She snapped at me, her words slicing through the air like a dagger. This is my wedding. You're ruining everything. The heat of her anger washed over me, sharp as a flame, while the guests in the background stilled, ears pricking up at our shouting. Silence. I could feel their eyes, the weight of disapproval heavy on my chest. I wanted to scream back, to explain my side of the story, that it wasn't about the condo. But the words stuck in my throat, just another silent plea for understanding. Outside, the rain began to fall, pattering against the window in a low, melancholic rhythm, mirroring my own thoughts. I pictured the sky opening wide, a torrential downpour that would echo my heartache. Every word exchanged felt like a murky shadow creeping closer, pursuing family ties police. If only I could rewind the clock, erase this moment, step back into the silence of yesterday when everything was whole, but reality hammered on my chest. As Sarah turned away, the light from the chandelier cast ghostly shadows on her retreating figure. My knees buckled, and I sat on the worn couch, my breath escaping in shaky gasps. I could only watch as the warmth of family unraveled, the bonds twisted by anger and misunderstandings. Mom's voice rang out amid the murmur of guests. This isn't happening. You're destroying everything we've worked for. Her face flushed crimson, nostrils flared, as if she was confronting a beast rather than her own daughter. I couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw open the windows and let the storm in. I wanted to be swallowed by the thunder. But instead, I felt a tear slip down my cheek and a lump form in my throat. The truth sank in. This wedding was unearthing hidden truths, exposing wounds that ran deeper than anyone cared to admit. I blinked away the fog of betrayal, glancing towards Sarah, who stood a few feet away, her back tense as she folded her arms. I caught her reflection in the glass, and my heart shattered. How did it come to this? How could a joyous occasion turn into a fierce battleground? Just as I was about to break the silence, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen. The clatter of broken china brought the gathering to a halt. All eyes darted toward the source, hearts racing in disbelief. What happened? Who had done this? The questions hung in the air, heavy and unanswered. It felt like the final straw, the turning point that could unravel everything. I stood frozen, my mind racing. What was next? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The sound of shattered porcelain echoed through the air, slicing through the tension like a knife. I turned to the kitchen just in time to see Mom kneeling on the floor, her face a mask of shock and disbelief. A bewildered guest stood frozen next to her, holding a half-eaten piece of cake, while a few others instinctively took a step back, as if fearing the shards might splinter outward. My heart pounded in my chest. This was not the way a wedding celebration was supposed to unfold. "Mom?" I whispered, my voice scarcely audible above the chaos. But she remained lost in her world, her gaze fixed on the fragments scattered across the tile, glistening like broken dreams. I couldn't help feeling the weight of expectation pressing down on me, the unspoken demand to maintain this facade of perfection. My feet felt rooted to the ground as strangers murmured softly around us, the thin veneer of civility cracking open like the china beneath my mother's trembling fingers. Just get it together, will you?" Sarah's voice rose above the murmurs, laced not just with irritation, but something far deeper, a plea that seemed to weave through her anger. "This is supposed to be the happiest day of my life. We're supposed to be celebrating." A small spark of hope kindled inside me at her words. Maybe this was the breaking point, the moment we could either spiral into further chaos or confront the underlying turmoil that had been brewing for so long. "Sarah, it's okay. It was an accident," I said, attempting to calm her. "Let's just clean this up and try to salvage the day." My voice trembled slightly, fear creeping through like the darkening clouds outside. But with this, I felt something shift between us, an unspoken agreement to take charge of our brokenness, to uncover the honesty amidst the hurt. She glanced at me, her expression softening for just a moment before hardening again, yet something flickered beneath the surface vulnerability. Just then, the elderly neighbor who lived across the hall ambled into the kitchen, her frail frame somehow carrying the energy of a warm summer sun. "Oh dear, what's happened here?" she asked, concern etched across her features. "Just a little accident," I said, forcing a smile. In that moment, her presence felt like an anchor amidst the storm. She began gathering the pieces with meticulous care, her hands steady despite their age. "Things break, you know, but it's what we build afterward that matters," she said softly, looking up at me as if she could see the storm swirling inside. The weight of her words resonated deep within me, the pang of longing intertwined with the fragility of family ties. As if on cue, Sarah stepped forward, kneeling beside the neighbor, and together they started picking up the shards, a silent pact forming, a bridge being built over our misunderstandings. Maybe we were still on opposite sides of that bridge, but at least we were laying down the foundation stones together. Meanwhile, I felt someone move closer. I turned and found Jason standing there, his eyes reflecting concern laced with uncertainty. "Is everything okay?" he asked quietly, his demeanor respectful but wary. "It will be," I replied, the words tasting like bittersweet hope. For a moment, I believed it. Perhaps there was still a chance for healing, a sliver of light breaking through the clouds, but hope felt elusive. The clouds outside roared with thunder, reminding us this storm was not just weather-related but emotional, brewing just beneath the surface. We were all fighting against the rain, the heartache that had gathered over the years. Then, just as I gathered courage to speak, the doorbell rang, slicing through the tension once more. Every eye turned in unison. It was an unexpected intrusion into our fragile moment, but who could it be? My heart raced as I shared a glance with Sarah. There was a flicker of fear in her eyes, a question lingering unasked. I could feel the storm looming, the air brimming with unvoiced confessions and hidden truths. "What if it's someone we don't want to see?" she whispered, just loud enough for me to hear, the vulnerability returning to her voice. "Whatever it is, we have to face it," I whispered back, my heart pounding in rhythm with the raindrops tapping against the window. The moment hung suspended in the air, a fragile thread connecting us, ready to snap at any moment. Just as I took a step toward the door, a sickening realization crept through me: what remained on the other side might shake our foundations even further. The storm seemed to mirror our lives more than I'd realized, with uncertainty lurking just outside, waiting to disrupt the momentary calm we had found. As I reached for the doorknob, I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever greeted us on the other side would be nothing short of a revelation, and not all revelations bring joy. The doorknob felt ice cold beneath my fingers, a sudden chill racing up my arm as I hesitated. I looked back at Sarah, her expression a blend of confusion and dread, and I knew this was a defining moment, a fork in the road we had been walking down for too long without acknowledging the fears lurking beneath. Swallowing hard, I twisted the knob and pushed the door open, the hinges creaking ominously like old bones. Standing on the threshold was Mrs. Reynolds, the owner of the flower shop adorned with vibrant blooms, but her hands were empty, a stark contrast to the abundance of life she usually brought with her. "Emily," she breathed, her voice strained as her eyes searched mine. "Two need to talk to you." A heavy silence enveloped the room, the sound of Jason shifting uneasily behind me creating a low hum of tension. The guests, my sister, and even the elderly neighbor paused, their gazes bouncing back and forth, like a pendulum measuring our collective hope against an uncharted fear. "Can it wait?" I finally managed, my throat dry as sandpaper. "No," she said, her words grappling with urgency. "It's important. It's about the condo." Immediately, a wave of dread washed over me. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me, creating a thin barrier that separated us from the storm brewing indoors. "What about the condo?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Even as uncertainty tinged my words, she shifted her weight nervously, glancing toward the ground as the rain began to fall in earnest, droplets swirling at our feet like the thoughts swirling in my mind. "There's been a major problem with your purchase, a structural issue that was hidden during the inspection." My heart dropped. "What do you mean hidden?" "It was all in the reports." Her eyes closed briefly, and when they opened, I saw the struggle etched across her face. "I thought it was just a paperwork error, but it turns out the contractor had been cutting corners to save money. You might not even have the proper permits. It could take months, maybe longer, to sort out." Each word struck like a blow, forcing the breath from my lungs. This was more than just a complication. The condo had been my sanctuary, a place where I envisioned rebuilding my life, repairing the damaged ties with Sarah, mending a bond fractured by years of misunderstanding. "No," I whispered, shaking my head as if my defiance could change the harsh reality. "Not now." The rain intensified, cascading down in torrents, and I felt the weight of it hitting me like the truth that was now crashing over me. "This isn't happening. Not at my sister's wedding." Her expression softened, a flicker of sympathy crossing her features. "I'm so sorry, Emily. This isn't the news you need right now." I thought starting over in a new place would help, but with those words, an unexpected wave of compassion surged through me, blurring the sharp edges of my anger. "What about the wedding? What will Sarah say?" I stammered, dread pooling in my stomach. As if summoned by the very nature of our conversation, the kitchen door opened, and I turned to see Sarah stepping outside, her cheeks flushed not just from the wedding preparations, but from emotions raw and real. "Emily," she paused, taking in the sight of us like two ships adrift in a storm. "What's going on?" Mrs. Reynolds hesitated, her gaze flicking from me to Sarah, and in that moment, an unspoken choice lingered in the air. I could see the flicker of fear in Sarah's eyes, the way the tension pulled at her features, and suddenly I knew what I had to do. "This isn't just about the wedding anymore. I need to tell you something important about the condo," I said, my voice barely rising above the rain's rhythmic drumming. Fear flickered across Sarah's expression, and just as I opened my mouth to explain, a loud clap of thunder roared overhead, drowning out my words. "What?" she pressed, stepping closer, the urgency of the moment arrayed starkly between us. But before I could respond, the unmistakable sound of her wedding dress rustling against the tiles echoed from inside, a poignant reminder of the life she was about to embark on, unburdened until this very moment. "Just a second," I called back, my voice wavering with emotion. Yet it was too late. From within the house, the atmosphere shifted, a different sort of storm swelling as Jason took a step forward, a pained look etched into his features. "Whatever it is, just tell her. Don't let her go into this marriage without knowing the truth," he urged quietly, desperation sharpening in his tone. "What truth?" Sarah questioned, her eyes darting between all of us, uncertainty mingling with dread, and just like that, everything hung suspended, fraught with the shadows of the past and the looming unknowns ahead. With the storm waiting on the horizon, I could either remain silent, protecting our fragile peace, or unleash the truth that threatened to unravel everything we had only begun to rebuild. As rain poured relentlessly behind me, each drop marking the rhythm of my heart, I knew this moment could change everything. The air thick with potential, the ground underneath me felt unsteady. I took a tentative breath, ready to step into the unknown and face whatever paid us a visit today, knowing that the chains of secrecy had to break under the weight of honesty. "Sarah," I started, but a sudden crash interrupted me, resounding from within the house like the final note of a symphony signaling the end of an act. And with that, my breath hitched, a sharp realization setting in something in this family was about to fracture, or maybe, just maybe, it was time to rebuild anew. The rain fell heavier, a relentless hammering that drowned out my thoughts as I stood on the threshold, Sarah's eyes wide with confusion and fear. The tension crackled like electricity, palpable and painful. It felt like the universe was holding its breath, waiting for one of us to break the silence that had enveloped us. "Sarah, listen," I tried again, but the words tangled in my throat. The crash from inside echoed in my mind. It felt like a sign. Everything was precarious, teetering on the edge of collapse, including my resolve. "What is going on?" She pressed, taking a step forward, her gown brushing against my arm. I felt the soft fabric and the underlying weight of who she was about to become, and it snapped something within me. I couldn't shield her. The truth had a way of clawing to the surface, and I needed to be the one to let it out, not as a burden, but as a chance for honesty and healing. "It's about the condo. There's been a serious issue," I started, only to be interrupted by Jason's frantic gesture from inside. "Emily." "No." His voice was urgent, tinged with a desperation I'd never heard before. My heart raced. What could possibly be happening? Can't it wait? I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. The storm outside paled in comparison to the tempest brewing within the walls of our home. "No, Emily, you need to see this." "No." Jason's tone left no room for argument. Dread filled the space between my sister and me. "Stay here. I'll be right back," I urged Sarah, stepping inside just as another crash echoed from the kitchen. The sound serrated against my nerves. Inside, chaos unfolded. A table had toppled over, its contents spilling like the emotions that had long since festered. Jason knelt over the wreckage, his face drawn tight with frustration. "I can't believe this is happening," he muttered, running a hand through his hair. "What happened?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper as the oppressive weight of reality closed in around me. "It's your mother," he said, the words heavy with an unspoken history. "She's been drinking more than usual. I found her in the corner, and it's like she's been waiting for this moment to fall apart. I couldn't just she can't face the wedding. My heart sank. I had hoped for a moment of clarity, a breakthrough of some sort, but instead, we were plunging deeper into the chasm. The thought of my mother, unraveling in the midst of Sarah's important day, filled me with a mix of anger and despair. Why didn't anyone say anything? "I didn't know how," Jason replied, pain evident in his voice. "But it's like she's been holding on for dear life," and now he paused, swallowing hard. "She's slipping. As I moved toward the kitchen, the scent of stale wine and flower bouquets filled the air. There, slumped against a wall, was my mother, her gaze unfocused, her makeup resembling something from a nightmare rather than the celebration we had planned. "Mom." I rushed to her side, dread pooling in my stomach. "Are you okay? What's going on?" Her eyes flickered toward me, recognition slowly emerging. "Emily?" she whispered, her voice cracking. When is Sarah getting married?" "Right now, Mom. We need you to rally for her. Please, just be here for her," I pleaded, trying to quell the rising panic in my heart. "We're all here for you," but her gaze drifted away, lost in a fog thicker than the rain outside. "I can't. Don't ask me to pretend. You don't know what I've lost, the bridges I've burned, Mom, please." I felt tears pricking at the corners of my eyes. "Don't say that. I need you to fight, to be part of this. We don't have to unravel like this." In that moment, I felt the invisible thread of our family ties fraying. The bond one had long to mend with Sarah seemed to slip further from my grasp, and I was terrified that the foundation was crumbling under the weight of our secrets. Suddenly, the kitchen door swung open behind me with a loud bang. There stood Sarah, her eyes wide with a mixture of confusion and anger. What the hell is going on? Why can't anyone just tell me? For an agonizing moment, I saw our fragile piece hanging by a thread, ready to snap at the slightest pull. Sarah, I began, but the echoing fear in her eyes silenced me. And then my mother spoke, her voice barely a whisper in the storm of pregnant silence that enveloped us. Your sister deserves better than this. I'm already a ghost in her life. The air grew thick with tension. The lines had been drawn, the impending confrontation looming like thunderclouds overhead. In a moment of clarity, I realized I held the power to shape not just my sister's future, but the remnants of our shattered family. Yet to do so, I had to tread carefully through the ruins we had built. Sarah, I began more firmly, feeling the tremor in my voice. I need you to know everything. Not just about the condo, but about Mom, about our journey. Fear clutched at my heart as I prepared to step deeper into the storm, knowing that the truth would not only shake the foundations of our relationships, but could also either bind us together or tear us apart entirely. As rain pounded against the window, I braced myself for the torrent of emotion that was about to be unleashed, a desperate hope clinging to the belief that perhaps, from the wreckage, we could begin to rebuild. The storm continued its relentless assault as I stood caught between the past and the uncertain future. I felt the weight of Sarah's gaze, a fiery mixture of confusion and betrayal. To hold her heart in my hands felt like carrying a fragile glass sculpture, delicate and precarious, with the potential to shatter at any moment. Tell me what is going on. Sarah's voice rose, the hurt bleeding through. Is it just about the condo? Is that it? No, I cried, desperation spilling out in a rush. It's about so much more. It's about Mom, my voice faltered, the words heavy with the burden of years gone by, years of silence, of unspoken fears. Sarah's eyes widened, confusion morphing into a stark clarity. Mom? What do you mean? Is she? She's struggling, Sarah. Jason interjected from behind me, his face pale and drawn. She's been drinking more than just wine for a while now. I hoped it wouldn't come to this. So the wedding is overshadowed by this? Sarah's tone dripped with disbelief, anger sparking in her chest. I can't believe this. Why would you let her fall apart on my day? Why didn't anyone say something sooner? Because we thought she would be okay, I pleaded, feeling a crushing guilt settling in my chest. We thought if she just saw you happy, she'd find her way back. She needs you, I whispered, my heart breaking for my sister. I need you. We need to face this together. We can't keep pretending everything is fine. There was a rawness in my voice, stripped of pretense, yet there was also a flicker of hope, a hope that perhaps honesty could serve as the balm for our fractured bond. You can't ask me to make excuses for her. Sarah shouted, her words sharp and painful. The storm outside responded, winds howling, as if mirroring the tempest of emotions within. I'm supposed to walk down the aisle today. To begin my life, my family. What kind of wedding is this? In that moment, I felt the gravity of my mother's words echoing in the back of my mind. This was not just about me, or Sarah, but the threads that tied us all together. I know it's unfair. I know it's hard, I said, my voice steadier now. But she is still our mother. We can't just abandon her in her darkness. Why? What if I don't want to? Sarah shot back, her fists clenched. I have spent years trying to make sense of her choices. And now I'm supposed to fix this? Jason stepped closer, his brows furrowing. We're not asking you to fix anything, Sarah. We're just asking you to see her as she is, vulnerable, lost. This isn't just your wedding anymore. It's a moment to reconsider what family means. As the words hung in the air, I could see the war within Sarah's heart. I was terrified of what would come next. I can't believe you both, she gasped, turning away. She moved as if trying to escape the suffocating weight of our conversation, but I grabbed her arm, my heart in my throat. Please, just give her a chance, I implored gently. Give yourself a chance to understand her before you make any more decisions about today. I don't want to understand. Sarah's eyes brimmed with tears, each drop a testament to the hurt she carried. It's so unfair. As her voice cracked under the pressure, I sensed the tidal wave of emotions curling dangerously close. Jason shifted, his energy easing a little as he took a slow breath, knowing this moment was pivotal. What if, just for today, we all put aside our anger and fears to be with her? Just be there together? I can't stand outside her door while she makes a wreck of herself, Sarah muttered, her fingers trembling as she pulled free. But we can't stand by and watch her drown, I countered, desperate to keep my sister engaged, to keep the thread of connection alive. Nothing's changed. I am still the disappointment while you all pretend like this is normal. In that painful instant, a new fracture opened. You're not a disappointment, I said softly, extending my hand toward her. None of us is. We have to support each other through this, not let it tear us apart. Before she could respond, a cracked laugh broke the tension. My mother's voice, hollow but present, rang out from the corner of the kitchen. You want to support each other? Start by finding out what you want, not just how to fix me. It was like a jolt. Sarah's eyes darted over to our mother, a mix of surprise and vulnerability flashing across her face. She looked fragile, the facade of strength slipping between the cracks, as if she were standing on the precipice of a decision. My breath caught, and I knew this was the moment of reckoning, not just for our mother, but for us all. I can't do this, Sarah breathed, stepping back. I can't be here, not today. Before I could grasp her arm again, she spun on her heel, rushing out into the hallway. The front door slammed behind her, the sound reverberating like a gunshot. Sarah, I called, my heart pounding. Fear clawed at my throat, a new kind of dread as I turned back to my mother. Please, don't let this tear us apart, I whispered, my voice trembling. My mother's gaze fell, lost in turmoil. I'm already a ghost, she murmured, her eyes shining with unshed tears. In many ways, I've already lost you. As I watched the weight of those words settle into the fragile void between us, dread washed over me, not only over what was happening here and now, but of what else I would have to confront. Because in that moment, as her despair hung thick in the air, I realized that this confrontation had sent us all spiraling, facing truths we had kept hidden, but could no longer shield. The storm outside intensified, matching the chaos that lay ahead, and as I felt the walls closing in, I couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. The minutes stretched into an eternity as I stood frozen in the kitchen, the low hum of the storm just outside my window a stark contrast to the thunderous turmoil inside me. My mother's words echoed like a haunting refrain, and I fought to suppress the wave of guilt that threatened to overwhelm me. Mom, I said softly, as the silence loomed thick around us, we need to talk, but my mother remained distant, her gaze fixated on the shadows that danced across the walls. I felt a sharp pang in my chest, realizing how much distance had grown between us. This was not the mother I knew, the vibrant, warm woman who had baked cookies with us and mended our scraped knees. She seemed lost, trapped in a labyrinth of her own making, and I wasn't sure how to guide her out. Do you even hear me? I pressed again, wrapping my arms around myself, wishing for some warmth against the chill radiating from her. I don't want to lose you too. What do you want from me? Her voice broke, raw and jagged like shattered glass. You want answers? You want to know why? I didn't choose this. I know you didn't, but we can face this together, I offered, my voice steadying as I willed the words to resonate. Sarah needs you. I need you. We're here together. But we can't help if you don't let us in. Let you in? She scoffed, bitterness seeping into her tone. You think I can just open up and pretend everything's fine? Look where that's gotten us. The fervor in her voice sliced through the air, igniting an anger within me. We're not pretending anymore. This is devastating, and it hurts maybe even more than you realize. I wanted to scream, to unleash all the pent-up frustrations and fears that had been bubbling beneath the surface for years. But that's why we have to come together. To forge something new from this pain instead of letting it tear us apart. At that moment, I glimpsed a flicker of vulnerability in her eyes, the facade slightly peeling back. You don't understand, she whispered, her voice shaking. I was never the mother you needed. I failed you both. My heart clenched at her admission, and I moved closer, reaching out. You haven't failed. You're still here with us. Please let us help you find the way back, for both you and Sarah. Before she could respond, my phone buzzed, a sharp intrusion against the heavy silence. I glanced at the screen, and my heart dropped when I saw Sarah's name flash across. I answered hastily, my breath hitching. "Sarah, Ella," she choked, and I could hear the tremor in her voice that mirrored my own anxiety. "I need to talk to you." "Now, where are you?" My heart sank further at her tone, sensing the weight of desperation wrapped around her words. I don't know. Just meet me at the park. Please." The call ended abruptly, leaving a void in its wake. "Sarah," I shouted, but only silence answered me. "She was already gone. Go," my mother urged softly, a hesitant understanding dawning upon her. "You need to be with her." "I'll be here. I promise I won't go far." For an instant, I felt a glimmer of something in acknowledgement, perhaps that maybe we were all caught in this storm together, tethered by our emotions and our shared fears. I nodded, pushing past the knots in my throat. "I'll be back. We'll talk more later." As I rushed out into the tempest, the winds howled just as my heart raced, emotions colliding violently inside of me. I forced myself to focus, navigating through puddles and the blustering wind as my thoughts spiraled. What was happening? How had we come to this fractured point? I arrived at the park, the night cloaked in shadows, leaves swirling dangerously around me. There, silhouetted against the dim light of a street lamp, Sarah stood, her shoulders hunched, her frame trembling as she fought against the storm both outside and within. "Ella," she cried, her voice cracking with all the weight of unresolved pain. "I don't know how to be part of this family anymore. I feel like I'm losing everyone. Sarah, please," I implored, stepping closer. "We don't have to blame each other. This isn't about who's right or wrong. It's about holding on to each other through the chaos." She turned away, squeezing her eyes shut as though trying to block out the world. "I can't keep pretending to be okay. I wanted today to be perfect, to forget everything else. Now I'm just scared." "Scared of what?" I pressed gently, inching closer, my heart breaking for her. "Scared of losing the only family I have left," she whispered, her vulnerability laying bare the turmoil we both shared. "Scared of becoming like her." The air thickened with an unspoken weight, and I reached out, brushing my fingers against her arm. "You won't lose us if we stick together. We'll help each other through the hard days. But we have to face it all. You don't have to carry this burden alone. I promise I'm right here." But just as I thought I had managed to bridge that gap, a sudden shout rang out, echoing through the stillness of the rain-soaked park. "Ella!" "Sarah!" We both turned as Jason rushed toward us, his expression grim and fearful. I could see the worry etched deep on his face as he approached, drenched, breathless. "There at the hospital," he panted, urgency lacing his voice. "Mom," she collapsed. "We need to get there. Now." My heart dropped into the pit of my stomach, dread surging through my veins. Before I could utter a word, the darkness hungrily swallowed hope, and as the wind howled in a cacophony around us, I felt every struggle we had ever faced suddenly surge back to the surface, a chaotic tidal wave threatening to drown us all. "Let's go," I said, fear gripping my throat. But deep down, a different kind of storm brewed, one I hadn't anticipated: the fear of what awaited us at the hospital, of how much more we would lose, and the raw truth that perhaps we were not only fighting for our mother, but for the very essence of our fractured family. The sterile scent of antiseptic stung my nose as we rushed through the hospital corridors, the fluorescent lights casting a harsh glow that accentuated the gravity of the moment. My heart raced with every footfall, each beat echoing the panic that coursed through my veins. Sarah was silent beside me, her previously piercing anxiety now trapped in a cage of disbelief. Jason pushed the door to the ER open, and the frantic atmosphere engulfed us. "Where is she?" I demanded of the nurse at the reception desk, my voice rising amidst the chaos. "Family members can wait in the lounge," she replied, her tone calm but clipped, as if rehearsed for moments just like this. I felt a surge of frustration bubble to the surface, but Jason placed a steadying hand on my shoulder. "Ella, we'll get answers soon. We just need to breathe." "Breathe?" I snapped. "How can I breathe when?" But before I could finish, a doctor approached us, his face a mask of professionalism, though his eyes bore a flicker of sympathy. "You're the family of Mrs. Thompson?" "Yes, that's my mom," I stammered, my stomach twisting with dread. "I am afraid she's stable, but still unresponsive." "We're running tests to determine the cause of the collapse," he explained, and I absorbed his words like needles, the sharpness puncturing any remnants of hope. "Will she be okay?" My voice trembled, unsure if I could handle whatever the answer might be. In situations like these, it's hard to make any predictions. "We'll do everything we can," he replied gently, but his honesty did little to soothe the overwhelming fear gnawing at me. As he walked away, a profound silence enveloped us, thick and suffocating. Each tick of the clock felt like a hammer against my skull, and the weight of impending loss loomed large. "I can't do this," Sarah whispered, tears slipping down her cheeks. "What if we lose her? What if she doesn't wake up?" I wrapped my arm around her, feeling the tremors of her fear seep into my own being. "We won't lose her. Not like this. She's not going anywhere. She needs us." But my words felt hollow, shadows of comfort in an insurmountable darkness. We sat, huddled together on the uncomfortable plastic chairs of the waiting area, trying to hold on to whatever fragments of hope we could muster. Minutes turned into hours, filled with heavy silences and stolen glances at the clock. I watched as families came and went, some clinging to one another with tear-streaked faces, while others carried the weary resignation that comes with grief. At that moment, I felt the urgency to hold my family close, to cultivate the bonds that were starting to fray like old fabric. "Ella," Jason's voice cut through the noise, and I looked over to see his brow furrowed in concern. What if we don't have a choice but to face the hard truths when she wakes up? "About us, about everything, honestly," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "I think we need to. But what if she doesn't even remember what tore us apart in the first place? What if it's worse than we imagined?" He sighed, the conflict evident in his eyes. "That's the thing about family. It can bond us but also bind us to our past." "What if the secrets are too painful to bear?" Before I could respond, the head nurse entered the waiting area. Her presence has a ripple of tension that whispered, "Please follow me." Our gazes locked, each of us silently voicing our unspoken fears. We couldn't separate from one another now. We were in this together. As we crossed the threshold into the dimly lit corridor, I couldn't shake off the sensation that whatever waited on the other side of the door could alter everything we'd ever known. The weight of secrets hung heavily in the era tapestry woven from whispers and regrets. Jason's hand brushed against mine, a grounding force that reminded me of our familial ties that still flickered through the shadow. "Here," the nurse said gently as she stopped before a room, her eyes softening. "She's in here." I hesitated briefly, my breath quickening. What if she wakes up but before I could finish my thought, the door creaked open, revealing a small room filled with monitors, tubes, and a frail figure that was my mother. I swallowed hard, the sight shattering my heart into countless pieces. "Mom?" I called softly, pain lacing my voice as I stepped forward. Her eyelids fluttered, and for a moment I saw a glimmer of recognition, hope clinging to each heartbeat. But then, as her gaze focused in and out, the flicker of memory seemed immediately lost, as if an invisible hand had pushed her back into the depths of confusion. "Ella, is it you?" she croaked, her voice weak and fragile. I stepped further into the room, urgency propelling me. "Yes, Mom, it's me. I'm here. We're all here, Jason, Sarah?" she murmured, her brow furrowing. "We're right here," I choked, emotion clawing at my throat as I reached for her hand, gently clasping it in my own. But before I could bask in the warmth of connection, the door swung quietly ajar again, and the doctor walked in, his expression ominous. "We need to discuss what happens next." There are developments. My heart plummeted once more, as the shadows of dread crept up my spine. Confusion and fear churned inside me. Other revelations awaited us? What truths hung in the balance, just on the cusp of unraveling? As I exchanged glances with Sarah and Jason, I realized that perhaps the deepest fractures in our family weren't just rooted in the past, they were also born from the uncertain future we faced together. And as the doctor began to speak, a new fear clutched my heart. What if the storm we were working so desperately to weather was only the beginning of a tempest none of us could survive? The air was thick with unspoken words as I sat at the foot of my mother's hospital bed, a fragile vessel of memories now trapped within a muddled sea. Her fingers felt cool in mine, a stark contrast to the warmth of the laughter we used to share in this very room, long before worry and illness stole away our sunshine. I could hear Sarah shifting nervously on the chair in the corner, the soft creak echoing in the silence. Jason stood nearby, his posture rigid with anxiety. The doctor cleared his throat, an almost imperceptible signal that what was to come was urgent, perhaps alarming. Mrs. Thompson suffered a cerebral event, he started, and my heart dropped to my stomach. We believe there may be underlying factors that contributed to her condition. We'll be running more tests to understand the specifics of potential stroke, possibly aggravating existing medical issues. I barely heard the rest of his words. My mind spiraled, racing through scenarios I wasn't prepared to confront. As if reading my thoughts, the doctor turned more serious. I need you to be prepared for a range of outcomes. Should there be significant damage, well, I'm afraid her recovery could be slow or may not happen at all. No. The protest burst from my lips before I could rein it in. You can't say that. She has to get better. She has to remember. His eyes softened, but his professionalism remained intact. I understand you want to protect her, but understanding her situation is crucial for all of you. Take time to process this. I turned slightly towards my mother, desperately searching her eyes for any sign of recognition, of connection. Mom, you're going to be okay. We're all here for you. I love you, I pleaded, my voice shaking as I fought against the rise of tears. There was a moment, a heartbeat, where I thought the uncertainty would dissolve as she nodded slowly, but then the moment shattered like glass against the starkness of reality. Her expression faltered. I love you too, dear, but so much seems lost, she murmured, her gaze drifting away as if searching for memories that were just beyond reach. Jason moved to my side, squeezing my shoulder in silent solidarity, a reminder that I wasn't alone in this torment. Sarah's tears whispered against the silence, each drop a mark of the conflict tearing us apart, our mother's despair dancing with our own unresolved fears. The conversation with the doctor lingered like a dark cloud overhead, each potential outcome a string of fate drawn tighter with every passing moment. I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever lay ahead could unravel us in ways we couldn't yet imagine. We need to be strong for her, Sarah finally said, her voice wavering but determined. We can't let her see how scared we are. She has to feel hope. That's what she needs. Yes, I agreed, even as uncertainty brewed deep within my heart. We need to put on brave faces for her, even if we're crumbling inside. The rest of the day passed in a blur, shadows stretching long as sunlight faded outside the thin hospital windows. We stayed with my mother, filling the quiet spaces with gentle laughter and shared memories, a tapestry of love woven through the tension. I found solace in the detail, the way the edges of her lips twitched when we told her about the silly things we'd done, the space between us diminishing with every smile that lit up her weary eyes. Then, just as I thought I had grasped hope tightly, the door swung wide open again, revealing a figure dressed in business attire. My heart plummeted as I recognized him as the family lawyer. "Excuse me, but I need to speak with you all," he said, glancing toward my mother. "It's about urgent matters regarding the family estate." "Now?" I interjected, feeling a sharp stab of annoyance. "Can't this wait until she's better? I understand your feelings, but it cannot," he replied, his expression grave. "Your family is intertwined in a situation that requires immediate attention." As they spoke, I felt the winds shifting beneath us, that old familiar anxiety resurfaced. This wasn't just about recovery anymore, it was about decisions that weighed heavy, ones that could sever the bonds we had fought to strengthen. I could sense an energy crackling among use, an old fault line creeping back in. Suddenly, the words conservatorship and secrecy hung in the air like poison, and I was left gasping for breath. The way forward seemed clouded, a labyrinth of choices we hadn't prepared to navigate, but we're family. Sarah cried out, her voice breaking under the strain of confusion and despair. "We can figure this out together. We have to. The lawyer's demeanor didn't soften, though his gaze betrayed a flicker of understanding. In moments like these, family dynamics can become detrimental. Your mother's best interests must come first. The word interests felt distant, cold against the warmth of our memories. I looked back to my mother, who was now watching me with weary eyes, pleading for my assurance. The realization crashed over me that even in her unresponsive state, the choices we made could seal her fate, and while I struggled to maintain a sense of unity, the fissures of our family were widening. As night descended outside the hospital, I felt the suffocating pressure of uncertainty squeezing my chest. Moments later, as the lawyer turned to leave, he paused at the door. "There are things your mother may have kept hidden that could change everything," he said. There but not their sadness lacing his words. What secrets could possibly linger in the depths of her mind? I watched as he walked away, a churning storm rising in my gut. "Ella," Sarah whispered, fear etching her features. "What do you think he meant?" I opened my mouth to respond, but no words came. Because deep within, I was afraid that whatever truth awaited us might shatter everything I believed, leaving us restless and apart in the wreckage of what was once our family. The sterile smell of antiseptic hung heavily in the air, mingling with the quiet hum of the ventilator as I watched my mother drift in and out of consciousness. The shadows seemed to coalesce around the room, echoing the turmoil that roiled just beneath the surface of my heart. Sarah sat perched on the edge of her chair, her hands wringing together as though she could will clarity into existence through sheer force of anxiety. Jason stood by the window, curtains drawn, a statue of stoic concern. Despite the lawyer's ominous words echoing painfully in my ears, I tried desperately to keep the conversation alive the way water in a drought nourishes a weary plant. "Remember the time we went to the beach, Mom?" I asked softly, trying to coax a flicker of the vibrant woman I knew from those fantastic memories. "You built the biggest sandcastle, and we crowned it with a twig for a flag." Her eyelids fluttered at the sound of my voice, and for a fleeting moment, I saw the ghost of a smile swim across her lips, only to vanish when she blinked. A turn of fate, a cruel trick played by the illness stealing her from us. It felt impossible, but it was as though I were standing at the edge of a cliff made of memories, clutching desperately to fragments of the past while the ground beneath me eroded with each passing hour. My gaze shifted toward Sarah, whose tears streamed silently down her cheeks, and my heart ached in response. I couldn't shake the feeling that the laughter and closeness we once enjoyed could slip from us like sand between our fingers. As the night deepened, a sudden cacophony of footsteps outside the door snapped my attention back to the present moment. More visitors, more complications to navigate. I held my breath, hoping for something good, but bracing for the worst. Entering the room was Aunt Linda, her presence both a balm and a storm. "I was so worried when I heard," she said, her voice quivering slightly as she approached my mother's side. "Oh, dear Janice, you need to fight this." Her words held a strange duality. They wrapped around me like a cocoon yet threatened to crush me under the weight of expectations. Our differences over the years, not just in opinion, but in ideology, had driven a wedge between our families, and I could sense the familiar tension rising even among the hospital's sterile walls. I felt trapped between wanting to honor my mother's side of the family and the reality that their failures had contributed to so much of the discord we faced now. "Linda, now is not the time," Jason interjected, his frustration evident. "This isn't helpful. Help is precisely what we need right now." She shot back, her eyes flashing. "We need to ask the critical questions before it's too late. Is anyone considering what she would want?" The air grew thick with unsaid words, and I could feel our pain echoing off the walls. I glanced at Sarah, whose expression mirrored my own, uncertainty mixed with a deep yearning for resolution amid the chaos. "Isn't that the problem?" I finally said, my voice firm despite the tremors of anxiety coursing through me. "What if we don't know what she wants? What if there are things she's kept hidden from all of us?" Linda's silence seemed to manifest into something tangible, a barrier that separated us in that moment. The longer I stood at the intersection of hope and despair, the more lost I felt. I searched my mother's face, desperate for a hint, something recognizable, something to anchor me back to the woman I loved, the woman I needed to fight for. Just as I thought despair would swallow me whole, Aunt Linda leaned closer to my mother, her expression softening. "Janice, you've always been the strongest among us. We believe in you." For a brief moment, those words seemed to weave an invisible thread of connection through the room. I wished they could pull us together, but as I watched, they acted more as a reminder of our fractures. A whisper of a memory brushed softly in my mother's reflection, the way her spirit flickered in her laughter, the essence of the love we so desperately wanted to keep alive. "Ella," Sarah's voice broke through my reverie. "What do you think we need to do next?" "I don't know." I swallowed hard, my stomach twisted with turmoil. "But maybe we should talk about what we know. The secrets." The lawyer hinted at what if they can help us understand what she truly needs right now. The room fell silent, each of us digesting the enormity of what lay ahead. A discussion about secrets was dangerous territory, yet I understood the gravity of it all. Our mother had entrusted us with the weight of her past, hidden beneath stitches of laughter and strained silences. Would unearthing those threads stitch us back together or tear us apart further? Just then, the door swung open again, and in walked the family lawyer, his expression unreadable. Unease shot through me. "I need to talk to you all now," he said, a crumpled envelope clutched tightly in one hand. None of us moved. The air crackled with an electric tension that felt both ominous and familiar. "There are documents here regarding your mother's wishes that may alter everything you believe about your family." I felt the breath catch in my throat. My heart raced, and I clutched my mother's hand, gripping tight as though I could draw strength from her stillness. What lay behind those documents could turn our fragile unity into shambles. Would we still be family after unveiling the truth? Would it shatter the very foundation of everything we knew? "Ella," Jason whispered, his voice filled with dread. "What if we're not ready for this? Sometimes, the truth is the only path forward," I whispered back, though my insides trembled at the prospect. As the lawyer prepared to reveal the contents of the envelope, I felt the world around me blur. Whatever lay ahead could reshape everything. Secrets were about to be unleashed, and a new chapter of our family's story hung precariously in the balance. The room felt electric with anticipation, the weight of the moment pressing down on us like a heavy fog. I clutched my mother's hand, my heart racing as the lawyer uncrossed his arms, adjusting his glasses as he prepared to open the envelope. I could feel Sarah's anxious energy radiating beside me, an unspoken connection, a silent plea for understanding. Jason's eyes darted between us, uncertainty etched across his face like a shadow. "It's time to discuss your mother's directives," the lawyer said, his voice steady yet tinged with the gravity of the revelations that awaited us. In her will, she expressed her desires concerning her medical care, financial matters, and, most importantly, who she wishes to manage her affairs should she become unable to do so. As he unfolded the crisp papers, a lump of dread lodged itself in my throat. This moment felt pivotal, perhaps life-changing. "I will not sugarcoat this," he continued, a cautious flicker in his gaze as he made eye contact with each of us. "Your mother has outlined specific preferences, including regarding what you might perceive as family secrets that have impacted your relationships." "Secrets?" Sarah whispered, a tremor threading through her words. "What does that mean?" The lawyer didn't waste time. He launched into the specifics. "Your mother's financial structures are more intricate than they appear. She has set aside funds for all of you, but there are conditions that stem from long-standing family tensions." "Conditions?" I echoed, anxiety curling in my stomach like a tightening fist. Somehow, the notion that we had to meet certain expectations felt suffocating. "She has expressed concern for your well-being in light of personal struggles, particularly in regard to your mother's relationship with substances and her failures as a parent. To access these funds, or for her legacy to be honored, you must each commit to a series of family sessions to address unresolved issues. This entails uncovering the ones buried deep beneath the facade of a perfect family." I felt like I'd been hit by a wave, crashing into icy waters. What secrets?" The lawyer hesitated, a taut silence enveloping us again, pregnant with the weight of anticipation. "Your mother needs you to confront both the past and what has led her to her current state. The terms are clear: Her wishes are to be honored, but only if you work together as a family. What if we can't face this? Jason murmured. What if this is too much? Then you risk losing the opportunity to reclaim her legacy, the lawyer replied, unyielding yet calm. She believes that without confronting the shadows of the past, the present cannot be rebuilt. Each word shook the foundation I had thought we were carefully constructing. Could we truly dive into the painful history together, relive the hurt, the betrayals, the shame? I looked at Sarah, who had gone pale, color draining from her face as the implications sunk in. None of us can afford to lose this chance. Plus her love, I urged, desperate to keep the glimmer of hope alive amidst the despair. Are you saying we have to relive our nightmares? Sarah said, voice trembling as her resilience flickered like a candle threatened by the slightest breeze. To earn access to what she left us, that's precisely it. The lawyer nodded, then paused. It's about more than inheritance. It's about healing, clarifying what has been hidden, and making amends. For your mother and for you, every story needs a resolution, he said, the finality sinking in. The heavy air wrapped around us, burdens etched on our faces as we processed the news. I could feel my mother's hand beneath mine growing colder, a stark reminder of the ticking clock that would force us into action. Confusion and urgency mingled together. We need to find a way to do this, I asserted, daring to break the thick silence. To heal, to face the reality instead of hiding from it. I could see in Jason's eyes a mixture of longing and fear, and I felt an unspoken agreement pass between us. We were all scared, but at that moment, standing on the precipice of the unknown, our only choice was to leap together. Let's do it, I said quietly, looking from my mother to Sarah and Jason. We owe it to her and to ourselves. Well, honor the legacy by facing the truths that bind us. But what if we can't? What if it breaks us? Sarah asked, emotion spilling forth as tears streamed down her cheeks. Then we will start over, I said, my voice a fragile whisper, but filled with that ember of hope. We could start anew together. The lawyer glanced between us, sensing the shift in our determination. He nodded. That's the spirit. This is a very big first step. I'll coordinate with family therapists who can help guide you through this maze, and just as swiftly as our options crystallized, a spark ignited between us, defining a path forward. I squeezed my mother's hand tighter and felt a flicker of warmth respond, a reminder that beneath it all, our love stretched wide, echoing against the walls that had confined us. Hours turned to days. The weathered storm of our family history gathering around like thunderclouds, heavy with the weight of what had once remained unspoken. We met with the therapist, peeling back layers of hurt with each session, challenging the vulnerability we had once avoided. A brave endeavor. With every reveal from our family past, we forged unbreakable bonds, inching one step closer to healing, and then came the windfall, the moment I had been so terrified of. My mother awakened, her eyes gradually sharpening like the focus of a camera, landing on my face. I breathed a sigh, relief washing over me. A smile broke across her face, fragile, yet illuminating the room like morning sunlight breaking after a storm. It felt surreal. I remember things, she muttered weakly yet steadily. I wish I had fought harder. As those words filled the air, I knew deep down all those moments had arrived not just to unearth our past, but as a reminder of our future. The bond held firm like the roots of an old tree, not just surviving, but growing in the midst of chaos. I love you, Mom. The connection between us felt tangible, thick with emotions yet light at the same time. As tears slipped down my cheeks, I felt the fissures slowly stitching. The journey toward true connection laid before us, weaving a network of understanding, love, and forgiveness. The truth I had feared initially became a guiding light, drawing forth an embrace of connection. The past did not define us as long as we were willing to fight for each other, and so, together, we renewed our vows not just as family members, but as a united force forged in love, determined to face whatever life slung at us, no matter the storm. In that moment, as I planted a kiss on my mother's forehead, I felt the stillness of something akin to hope enveloping us, a deeper breath enveloping the spirit of our family. After everything, the finality of our burdens began to lift, revealing the open sky once more. We've got each other, I whispered, and Sarah nodded, yet another myriad of hope shining through her eyes. As we sat there, together at the intersection of the past and the hopeful future, I couldn't help but think that families are not only made in moments of joy, but also in the act of choosing to endure the storms of life together. And the bonds forged from adversity, we would stand resolute, while whispers of strength danced in the air, echoing the promise that even in the unknown, love would lead us home.